OK, more build-up to come from those 2 p.m. kickoffs, 3 of them in the Premier League. Let's reflect on Manchester City, who kick off at 4:30 at Ipswich. And the big news this week stunned us all on Friday morning, the announcement that Erling Haaland has committed his future to the club for the next 9.5 years. However, it's a doubt for this afternoon for the second part of Super Sunday at Portman Road. How big a deal is this, Dean, especially as there's no release clause?
I think it's a magnificent deal for Manchester City. I don't understand it from Erling Haaland's point of view. I just don't understand that length of commitment as a player. I just think obviously we don't know the details.
If he was
exactly
a League Two player, you'd perhaps understand it, wouldn't you? Because you get that because they're desperate for security, but he's going to be. What you're saying, he's financially secure already.
Exactly, yeah, and obviously when you think of a longer contract, you think that lends itself to the club being in charge of your future for that length of time. Rather than maybe keeping it on the edge, as we've seen with some of the Liverpool players now, where their contracts are up and you're very much in charge as a player at that point. So I do find it a little strange. I can't help but feel that way. I think from City's perspective, I think it's absolutely fantastic for them, that security of if he was ever to leave, they really are in charge in terms of what they can charge for his services, because he is going to go on and be one of the all-time great goal scorers that we've ever seen.
79 Premier League goals. He's raced to that mark, Jamie.
Yeah.
Alan Shearer finished on 260, still with the record in the Premier League. On his current goals per game record, he beat that by 2030, so around his 30th birthday. Can he do it? Will he do it? I mean, I don't know if I'm cynical, but my thought was this isn't about him staying at City. This is about getting a big fee when Real Madrid come calling.
Yeah, I think that was always the talking point, maybe, and I think that was where we kind of always expected it to end up. He was at Borussia Dortmund. He seemed very much in control of his contract and how he dealt with things. And when he goes to Manchester City, doesn't sign a massive long-term one when he first come in. So you go, and where's the next step? There was always talk of Real Madrid potentially. So, I think Dean's right. 9.5 years, a big commitment. Listen, he's obviously going to be earning a lot of money, some crazy amounts, but he would have got loads of money wherever he goes. So 9.5 years does seem like a big contract. It's all in favour of Manchester City now. They are in control of his future. They must have talked him into it, and he must have believed that where this club's going to go and where he expects them to be over the next 5 to 10 years, that he wants to be a part of. Because, look, Real Madrid is the club that everyone talks about that you can't say no to, and I think they definitely would have wanted him. But maybe he's looked at it and said, Manchester City's where I want to be. That Premier League record now for me, if he does stay for that period, will get broken by Erling Haaland, because he is a goal machine. And, if he's got 9 years to do it, he will definitely do it.
Yeah, it's a fickle world as well. As you both know, to play by the age of 34 is a big achievement if you can get that way and keep injury free.
I think them days are changing though. I think the way they look after their bodies now, and look, he's a machine. And there are certain players who struggle with injuries and really struggle to get past that 34, 35 age. But he's one of these players for me, like Salah, like Ronaldo, who will be able to play until they're 37, 38 at the top level. And it's just whether they want to. And I think Haaland's one of them players who, is an absolute machine. He looks after himself physically off the pitch. So he's a player who'll be able to do it, at the top level for a long, long time. And, I think Shearer will be looking at that record thinking if he's now signed 9.5 years, that's definitely getting broken. But they have to protect an asset as well. They will say to him, it's a lot of money, and they're having to pay out a lot of money. But, with these Qatari owners and the Saudi Arabia owners and, the money that's around football these days, who's to say in 3-4 years' time that someone don't offer £300 million for an Erling Haaland, and they get him in the last couple of years of his contract, and they go, we've got to take the money. So they've protected themselves as well in a way that they've said, look, we want you to stay. We want a big contract, 9 years.
I mean, that's the thing. It's brilliant business from City. It just is as well. Obviously, again, we don't know the ins and outs, but how much is that going to go up every single year for Erling Haaland, or does it continue to stay very similar every single year? And as a player, yes, you can have that security, but let's not pretend that if he got injured tomorrow, he gets that contract. He does not.
How much do you think he get? Do you know?
Well, you depending if the club could show that you are genuinely not able to play any longer, then you would look at a compensation package and a percentage
and an insurance.
He wouldn't then sit there with a with an injury and be able to have that contract. That's not how it works. You don't have that level of protection.
Yeah, managers don't get the full payouts either, do they? It is a very uncertain business. Let's talk about the game today for Manchester City up against Ipswich, Jamie. City 8th in the Premier League, but only 3 points behind 4th place Newcastle. Are you still backing them for a Champions League place?
I mean, it's hard to back them. I think they've been really poor this season in terms of the level that they've been at. They have looked jaded. You know, they've 4 Premier League titles, one of the greatest teams we've ever seen. But you look at the squad now and it is aged, and it is looking a little bit dated. Rodri obviously was trying to keep that together, and they've lost him, and they've really struggled. They need to find a way. Manchester City need Champions League football. It might be top 5. Can they get in the top 5, and that might get them in there. But it's a tough game again. Ipswich fighting for their lives at the table, got some good players in their side who'll give everything. And, Man City haven't been the team that we're used to seeing. They've lost that invincibility. They've lost that where they keep going, where they find a way. And, they were scoring last-minute goals, last season, and it was happening for them. And that's just dried up, and it hasn't been the same. And I think in the summer, after we find out about the charges and everything, and once everything settles down, and I think in the summer they'll look to build a new team.
What do you think they can achieve, Dean? Where would you have them finishing?
I think they'll get Champions League football. I think there's been that slight improvement. They've been very proactive in the transfer market. Kursanov, obviously, that deal done, and others looking like they're going to get over the line. Excuse me. And I think that was really important. It felt like it needed an injection of something, an Alvarez replacement. I think they've really missed him, having let him go. Yeah. And yes, there was that blip again against Brentford. I think defensively there are issues there, but you still think that with it just seeming to settle down, they'll continue to have a decent second half of the season and definitely get Champions League football.
And Dean, they come up against their old boy Liam Delap today. You wonder if he could have helped them this season, but is he key to Ipswich's survival hopes? Maybe key today in this game as well.
He's massive. He could be the one. His goals could keep Ipswich in the Premier League.
He's a proper striker, isn't he?
I like him.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a powerful runner. He's a clever runner in terms of the runs that he makes. He can lead the line. When you're playing in a team that doesn't have a lot of the ball and struggling, you haven't half got to work to get hold of it, to bring people in, to chase down lost causes, all of those things. He's got that in abundance, but he's showing actually he can finish when the chances come along as well. They've struggled at home, Ipswich, more so than I thought they would, because I watched a lot of their games last season and thought that home form in particular was very, very good. Hasn't quite happened. I don't think they've got as many points as probably the performances have deserved, and that happens so often as a team that's come up from the Championship. Yeah. You just seem to say it all the time about so many teams.